Hey guys, welcome to Nathan's Car Care. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to be continuing on my CB radio install part 2. I'm going to give an overview of where I installed the antenna, how to install it. So let's go ahead and get started. So first we're going to make sure we have everything we need. We have our antenna right here. We have our spring, and of course we have our fire stick mount with the lock washer, standard washer, and the nylon washer. So this is the mount we're going to use. It's designed to go in the stake hold right here. I went ahead and made this myself, which was fairly simple. All it is just a piece of 1.5 inch by 1/8 of an inch steel, flat bar steel, which you can get from a home improvement store. I got this one from Lowe's. It was like $5 for a really long 3-foot piece. So this section here was like maybe $1. And then I just drilled a couple holes in it. This is the mounting hole. And then this one up here is a hole I drilled so that I can make sure it has a good ground. It's really important that your antenna has a good ground, so I went ahead and drilled a ground hole here just to make sure that this was grounded. I'm just going to run a wire from here down to the frame. This one up here is where the fire stick mount will go. It'll just go right in there. So because this is steel, I went ahead and painted it with Rust-Oleum because I don't want it rusting inside the bed. I then just hit it with 2 coats of regular black Rust-Oleum enamel, and then after that I hit it with 2 coats of their clear enamel as well. So this here should be a really tough paint. It should hold up really well. I did go ahead and scratch out the paint on these spots where the ground bolt was, and then up here where the fire stick mount will be. Scratch those out so it's down to the bare metal so we can get a ground on those. And other than that, that's pretty simple. I did go ahead and use a longer bolt just in case at some point if I want to add more grounds to this connection. So that way I don't have to take the whole thing out. I can just loosen this up and then slide them right on. Alright, so before we can install the bracket, what we need to do is we need to establish a good ground between here and the battery. So in order to do that, we're going to run a ground wire from directly under here. I'm going to put a bolt through that hole right there and use that to ground. Alright, so now we've got the ground run all the way up here to the mount. It's grounded to the cab. We double check the ground. We have a good one to the battery. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our bolt, our little lock washer, then our regular washer. We're going to put that on there. Line those up, slide it through. Now we're going to take our nut. Now this kind of wrench here is going to be especially helpful. As you can see, it has a little bit of a shoulder right here, so that way the nut can't slip out, even if it's angled like that. Alright, so we've got it bolted in on this side. We have the ground screw in here grounded to the battery. We've got our wire running down to the frame, and then that runs to the battery, so we're good there. So now we are ready to run the coax cable, and then we will put our fire stick mount on. Alright, so before we continue, let's go ahead and talk for a second about why I chose to go ahead and mount it in the stake hold. So there's a couple of general spots where people will mount CB antennas. They'll either mount them on the roof, on the hood, on the mirrors, on the bumper, or on the stake hold mounts like I chose to go with here. There's a couple reasons why I chose this location. I was contemplating either the roof or here. And the reason I chose this over the roof, I didn't want to have to drill a hole in the roof for the fire stick mount. And also I didn't really want to use a magnet mount, because I've seen where magnet mounts for both CB antennas and other things have caused the roof to begin to rust, which of course is not a good thing. Over time the magnet moves, it scratches the paint, and then it rusts the roof. So by putting it here in the stake hold mount, while I don't necessarily have the greatest ground plane possible, it is sufficient and it will work. What it does is it gives me flexibility. First of all, I was able to make my own mount. I saved maybe $15, $20 there. Secondly, I don't have to drill any holes. But also, when I do go to move it, once I put the headache rack on here, then I don't have to worry about covering up any holes that I drilled or doing anything with that. I can just move it right away and it's all back to stock. And because I did get a 5-foot top-loaded antenna, the roof will act as sort of a ground plane. It won't be quite as good as if I were to mount it in the middle of the roof. However, it will work a little bit as a ground plane. So I should get pretty good signal nonetheless. And also it's important that you mount it on the driver's side of the vehicle. That way the cab of the truck will not block signal of other drivers that are going up and down the road. Now your circumstances could easily be different than mine. Perhaps you don't plan on putting a headache rack, so it doesn't make sense for that. Perhaps you're going to use the 102-inch whip, so it doesn't matter if you mount it on the bumper. Or perhaps you don't mind drilling holes in your roof. What you need to do is you need to look at the circumstances and you need to make sure that you find out which mount location is going to be best for your circumstances. Now, of course, as a general rule, if you're going to be using anything shorter than a 102-inch whip, never mount to the bumper because too much signal will be blocked. Alright, so to run the coax, first thing we're going to do, of course, is take the wrap off the end so we can unwind it. Alright, so unfortunately I can't show you because it's a little too tight to get a camera in there, but we're going to be running this coax through a hole in the bed rail. They're right behind here where we put our bolt. There's a good sized hole, plenty big enough to get this through. We want to fish this through there and then down to the ground, and then we'll pull the rest through. Alright, so we have the coax coming through on the bottom. Just feed it through so you don't scrape the cable up against any sharp edges. Alright, so now that we have the cable run down underneath the truck, we can go and take our fire stick mount and take it apart. Take this end and screw it onto the coax, making sure that the center pin goes into the socket. Alright, so we have a good connection there. Now making sure you don't drop it, just stick it through here. And then we'll put our plastic washer on first, and then our metal washer, and then our lock nut. And then this here, screw this right on. So now you need to grab a couple wrenches and tighten this down. Compress that lock washer all the way, and then we can go ahead and run the cable up into the cab. Now we can go ahead and put our spring on. Alright, now we can go ahead and screw our antenna on top of our spring. Just like that right there. Now it might be a good idea to go and put some blue Loctite in here on these connections, but I'm going to go and make sure everything works before I do that. So what we're going to do to get the coax cable from the bed up to the dash is we're going to pass it through a vent that's in the back of the cab here. So in order to do that, we have to take this back seat rest off, which is not an easy thing to do. If you've ever done it before, you will know that. But I'm going to show you a couple tricks, see if we can't make it a little easier. First step is we have to remove this cover right here and take off the bolts under there. Just get a small screwdriver blade, or if you're careful, a knife blade like this. Stick it there in the gap, and then pry it out, just like that. So now we just need to get those bolts off, those nuts off. To do that, you will need a 10mm socket. Just like that. Then you can just slide it down the seat belt right there. And then thread these back on to make sure we don't accidentally lose those. Alright, so now for the hard part. The easiest way to pop these out is to take a big, stout, really strong flat blade screwdrivers. Take your longest one, stick it on the passenger side. You want to stick it on the right hand side of this metal bracket right here. On the driver's side, you want to stick it on the left hand side of that metal bracket. So over here, since we're on the passenger side, we'll stick it on the right hand side. In the back of the seat there is a metal bar that goes across. I'm trying to get the screwdriver up over that metal bar. Just like that. Stick it in and then use it to push the seat up. Take your screwdriver. And just pop it in. Now, so after you get one side out, what you need to do is you need to put something under there to prevent it from going back in while you're trying to get the other side out. So I'm going to use this little box here. Just shove it in there so the seat back can't go down. And then let's go do the other side. And on this side, we're going to do the exact same thing. Stick it in. Find that metal bar. Go up and over it. Push it up. You might be able to see better this time. There's a little black plastic. You can see a little piece of plastic right here. Let me bring you in a little closer. Alright, so this here, that piece of metal right here at the end of the screwdriver blade, that's the bar that goes across the bottom. This here's the bracket that holds it in. And right up above this bracket, so right up here, there's a little plastic clip. That's the clip that you're trying to push back. So you're basically just taking the tip of the screwdriver, riding it along here until you feel the clip, and then just pushing back until it releases. Just like that. So now you can really see that clip that we're doing. All we're doing is we're going up along here at an angle and pushing that back to release the seat. Alright, so now with the back of the seat out of the way, we just need to pull this clip, that clip, and then this one right down here. Then we can pull this padding off the back and we'll have the vent exposed. Alright, so with that padding pulled back out of the way, you can see our vent right here, which, as you can see, that's the bed right there. So what you can do is then just fish the coax up into this vent, and it'll just come through there, just like that. Alright, so real quick before we do put the seat back together, I'm going to go and run the coax cable down along the seat, and then underneath this piece of carpet right here, and then we'll just go along this track all the way up to the front. You want to be careful, make sure you keep this out of the way of the pedals, which is why I'm running along the carpet, because if this gets caught in between your pedals, that would be a very, very bad thing. And here we go, we are inside the cab and right where we're going to mount the radio. Alright guys, well that's about it for this time. We got the antenna mounted, we got the coax cable run into the cab right to where we're going to install the radio. We discussed mounting locations for the antenna. So next time what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to mount the radio, and then we're going to connect the antenna, and then we'll be almost done right there. So we've only got 1, maybe 2 videos left. So if you found this video helpful, if you've been enjoying this series, then make sure you hit the like button, share the video with all your friends, subscribe to the channel, and while you are subscribing, go ahead and hit that bell icon right next to the subscribe button. That way you can be guaranteed to be notified next time that I upload a video. You don't want to miss the next part in this series. Also, don't forget to check out the website. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a bunch of helpful resources for today's video, as well as for previous videos over there. Go check it out, nathanscarcare.com, and then click on the resource page, and then click on the title of the video that you want to look at, and it's as simple as that. Also, over on nathanscarcare.com, I have a link to my Amazon web store, where you can purchase all the different products you saw used in today's video, and in other videos, so go check that out. I get a bit of a kickback when you use it, so I can make better content, so check that out. And until next time, this is Nathan, signing off.